Okay, polyop test review. Polyop test is tomorrow. So number 1 says find the equivalent, which just means equal, expression to 2x minus 9 times, because there's nothing in the middle, 4x plus 1. When I'm multiplying a binomial times a binomial, I know that I have to use the box. So I'm going to draw my box. And I have my 2 terms, so 2x minus 9, 4x plus 1 on the side. You could also flip-flop these, okay? Order doesn't matter. And then we multiply. So remember, to fill in the box, we're multiplying. So 4x times 2x, well, 4 times 2 is 8. X times x, remember, we add the exponent, so 1 plus 1 is 2. 2x times 1, well, 2 times 1 is positive 2. X, there's no other x to add it to, so it's just x. 4x times negative 9, that's going to give me 36, negative 36. X, okay, this didn't have an x, so it's just x. And then 1 times negative 9 is negative 9. Okay, so here we are with that. Now I'm not done, remember, because we should have a like term in the diagonal. So 2x, remember, this is a big plus sign. So 2x plus negative 36. If we struggle with adding our negatives, I want you to use your calculator. So we have 2 plus negative 36, and I get negative 34. Lots of simple mistakes here when we're adding negatives. So this gives me negative 34, and remember, when we're adding, our exponents don't change, so it's just x. So my answer is 8x squared minus 34x minus 9, which is C. Okay, let's look at number 2. So number 2 is pretty much the same thing. It says if the area of the rectangle is represented by this, but we don't know our middle term, what is the value of k? So we have to find our middle term. Well, the only way to do that is to multiply. So I'm going to go ahead and build a box because it's a binomial times a binomial. So 2 terms, 2x plus 3 times x minus 6, because remember, y'all, area is length times width. So we have to do x minus 6 times 2x plus 3. So if I need to put a number here, you can put a 1. So 1x times 2x is 2x squared. 1x times 3 is 3x. 2x times negative 6 is negative 12x. Negative 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. Okay, and again, we add our diagonal. So negative 12x plus 3x. Again, use your calculator. So this one was negative 12 plus 3 gives me a negative 9. So I get negative 9x. So I get 2x squared minus 9x minus 18. Now the big thing here is to check what you do know. So we do know the first term should be 2x squared, which we got. And the last term should be minus 18, which we also got. So k is in front of x. We have negative 9 in front of x, so that's my answer. Okay, example 3. I want you to realize that this is a binomial, 2 terms, times a trinomial, which is 1, 2, 3 terms. So we have to build a 2 by 3 box versus a 2 by 2 on all of our other problems. So we have 2 tall, so it's more of a rectangle this time. You could also do a tall skinny box, but I like this way. So my 2 terms are going to go on the 2 side, 3x minus 5. And my trinomial goes where there's 3 slots. So negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 4. And we have to multiply. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Again, we have to add our exponents. So 2 plus 1 is 3, or cubed. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10x squared, because there's no other x's here to change that. 3 times 4 is positive 12. X and x is x squared. 4x times negative 5 is negative 20x, because I didn't have any x's to change that. 3x times 4 is 12x. And then 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Now again, we still have our like terms in the diagonal. I still have my plus signs. And I have negative 10x squared plus 12x squared, which is going to give me 22x squared. Remember, our exponents don't change when we're adding, so this is a positive 22x squared. And then I have negative 20x plus 12x. So again, use your calculator. So I have negative 20 plus 12, which gives me negative 8. Whoop. So I get negative 8x. So I get negative 6x cubed plus 22x squared minus 8x minus 20. So I'm going to fill in my spots. Now I know that there are plus signs here, so if it's a minus, we're just going to plug in a negative. So I have negative 6, positive 22 in front of x squared, negative 8 in front of x, and a negative 20. Okay, looking at number 4, we have x plus 9 squared. You cannot just distribute the squared in. X plus 9 squared, it means x plus 9 times x plus 9. So I have to draw a box, and I have to multiply x plus 9 times x plus 9. Well, x times x is x squared, x times 9 is 9x, x times 9 is 9x, and 9 times 9 is positive 81. So I have to add my like terms in my diagonal. Remember, this is a big plus sign, so 9 plus 9 is 18x. So I get x squared plus 18x plus 81, which is C. Okay, number 5 and 6 are a lot alike. Okay, they just kind of ask the same question differently. So we're going to do the same thing. So we have convert the equation y equals negative 3 x plus 5 squared minus 4. So remember, we talked about either PEMDAS or GEMMA, whichever one you learned. They're the same thing in the end. So our first P stands for parentheses, but nothing inside my parentheses simplifies. So we're going to ignore P or G grouping. Now we have to get rid of our exponent. So we need to get rid of this x plus 5 squared, that whole thing squared. So we're going to treat it just like number 4 for now. Now, before I forget, because we always forget these other terms on accident, I'm going to bring it down. So I have negative 3 times something, and then I have a minus 4. Whatever I get when I multiply this is what's going to go inside. So I have to build a box because I need to multiply x plus 5 times x plus 5, because that's what x plus 5 squared means. So x plus 5, x plus 5 gives me x squared plus 5x plus 5x, and 5 times 5 is 25. And I know 5x plus 5x is 10x. So I get x squared plus 10x plus 25. Now I'm not done because I still have this negative 3 and this negative 4. So we're done with exponents now. And M stands for multiply. Okay, well, I do need to multiply because I have this negative 3 in front of my parentheses. So to get rid of that parentheses, I have to distribute in my negative 3. So in order to bring down my y equals, so that gives me negative 3x squared minus 30x. And again, use your calculator if you need to. Negative 3 times 25 is going to give me negative 75. Bring down my minus 4 because I haven't used it. And then last thing I need to do is find my like terms. Well, I know these two are like terms because they're both constants. They don't have a letter. So I get y equals negative 3x squared minus 30x. Negative 75 minus 4 is negative 79. So I get negative 3x squared minus 30x minus 79. Okay, so number 6 is just like number 5. So knowing that, we're still doing the same things. It's just asking me a different question. But I still have to solve this just like I did on number 5. So again, there's nothing inside my parentheses that simplifies, so I go to exponents, and I have to get rid of this squared. So I know that I can't forget about the 2 and the plus 10. So I'm going to come over here and do my box. because I have to multiply x plus 8 times x plus 8. And I get x squared plus 8x plus 8x plus 64. Because remember, we're multiplying x times x is x squared, 8 times x is 8x, 8 times x is 8x, and 8 times 8 is 64. And now we add our like terms, which are diagonal. So this gives me positive 16x. So I have x squared plus 16x plus 64. And again, we're not done. So now we go to multiply, which means to distribute. So 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times 16x is plus 32x. 2 times 64 is 128. Bring down my plus 10. And it's important to keep going so we can check that we're on the right track. So 2x squared plus 32x plus 138. Okay, so knowing that, we have to check our first term is right. Our last term is right. So then what's at k is what's in front of my x, which is 32. Now, I also want to show you that you can check these in your calculator. So I'm going to pull my calculator, split screen. You can check every single one of these problems in your calculator. Come over here. Doesn't let me go any smaller. Okay, so knowing that, if we just like look at number 5, so I can type what was given to me in the first line, so y equals negative 3 parentheses x plus, not equals, 5, squared, minus 4, and I get this graph. And now I'm going to type what I came up with. So f of x, I'm typing my answer, equals negative 3x squared plus negative 30x plus negative 79. And you'll see it went right on top of the first one. So if I turn this one off, it's purple. Turn it back on, it's black, right on top. So we did it correctly. That is my right answer. So I can check number 1 through 6 just like that in my calculator on my own. Okay, so knowing that, let's look at number 7. Okay, here's number 7. That's in the way. Okay, so number 7 says find the equivalent expression. Remember, equivalent just means equal. So here we have a monomial times a monomial. This is back to like our old rules when we were learning exponents. So knowing that, remember, we multiply our coefficients and add our exponents. So we multiply our big numbers, add our little numbers. We treat our big numbers just like normal. So 6 times 2, I don't need parentheses, is 12. And then I have x and x. So remember, if there's no exponent, I could put a 1. And 1 plus 3 is 4. And then I have a y. So 4 plus 6 is 10. So I have 12. These two are wrong. X4, Y10, which is C. Okay, so same concept with number 8. Back to our old rules of equivalent, or not equivalent, but simplifying exponents. So this time we're dividing. So divide your coefficients. We treat those big numbers just like normal. And we subtract our exponents. Okay, so knowing that, if I do 12 divided by 24, so if we need our calculator, we can use it. So 12 divide 24, because a lot of us are going to say 2, but it's not 2, it's 1/2. So I know I have 1/2. And then we have to ask ourselves, where do we have more a's? I have a squared on top and a to the 4th power on bottom, so I have more a's on bottom. And then we do 4 minus 2, which is 2. Here, where do I have more b's? I have more b's on top. 8 minus 2 is 6. So I have b6 on top, which would be either b or d. And then I have 2a squared on bottom. So b is my answer, because remember that 1 up front is optional. So b is my answer. Now, number 9 is the box, but most of it's done for you, and it's just asking what would go in the empty box. So if I have 3x times 3, well, 3 times 3 is 9. So I know right away I'm between these two. And this has an x, this doesn't, so it's 9x. So same concept with number 10. We're multiplying just what goes in this box. So 2x times negative 7. Well, 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. X, this doesn't, so it's just negative 14x. Okay, let's look at number 11. Now, 11 and 12 are different than the ones on the front because I have a plus sign in the middle of my parentheses. So this means we're adding like terms. Now, plus sign doesn't change anything. I have nothing in front of this parentheses, so we can ignore all of our parentheses on this problem. So I know that I have a constant of 2 here, and then a constant of 9. I know those are like terms because neither of them have a letter. They're constants. Here I have x squared. Here I have x squared. Here I have plus 5x, and here I have plus negative 4x. So I'm going to combine my like terms, but I'm going to start with my highest exponent. So I have negative 2x squared plus 6x squared. So negative 2 plus 6 is 4x squared. And I like to cross them off as I go. Next, I'm going to do my x's. So 5x plus negative 4x, well, 5 minus 4 is 1, so plus 1x. And then 2 plus 9, 9, 10, 11 is 11. So I have 4x squared plus 1x plus 11. So this is wrong. This is wrong. That's wrong. So B is my answer. Now 12 is different because I have a minus sign in the middle. And when I have a negative, that does change things. I have to distribute my negative in. So I'm going to rewrite this first set of parentheses. I have 2 minus 2x squared plus 5x. 2 negatives makes a positive 4x. Negative and a positive makes a negative 6x squared. Negative and a positive makes a negative 9. Now I'm going to identify my like terms and combine. So I have my constant, my x squared, my x squared, my 5x, my 4x. And again, we're still starting with first. So negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8x squared. 5x plus 4x is positive 9x. And then 2 minus 9 is negative 7. So here's my answer. So I have negative 8x squared, so this is wrong, plus 9x, so this is wrong, and a minus 7. So A is my answer. And again, you can check these in your calculator. So if you come over here to your calculator, and if we were to type what was given to us first, so we had parentheses, 2 minus 2x plus 5x squared minus negative 4x plus, 6x squared plus 9. They should be the same as, so there's my blue line. That should be the same as what I came up with. So we came up with negative 8x squared plus 9x minus 7. I typed something wrong. Oh, that's what I did. This should be squared. I was like, see, I know I made a mistake, but I didn't. I just typed something wrong. That can also be why they don't match. So now they match. Okay, so now that I fixed my mistake, I have blue line and a green line. Is it working? On the same spot. Yeah. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so then we did it correctly. Okay, so look at number 13. says, what is the perimeter? Remember, perimeter means we add all the sides. So I need to label all four sides. If this is 2x plus 3, this is 2x plus 3. This is x minus 6, this is x minus 6, and we need to identify our like terms. So I have x, 2x, x, 2x, and I have constants. So x plus 2x is 3x, plus x is 4x, plus 2x is 6x. So again, the calculator comes in play here. Remember, you cannot type your x, but you can type your numbers, and I would put a 1 in front of my x's. So I have 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2, which gives me 6. So that was me adding my x's, and now I need to add my constants. So I have negative 6 plus 3 minus 6 plus 3, and I get negative 6. So my answer here is D. Again, you could type this in your calculator. You could type this plus this plus this plus this in one line, this in the second line, and it should match. Okay, let's look at 14. 14 says the height of the picture is 6x plus 7, and then it gives me perimeter. So I only know one side length. And I know perimeter means add all the sides. So I'm going to add the two sides I do know, and I'm going to take them away from the perimeter to figure out what I need to use that. So 6x plus 6x is 12x. 7 plus 7 is 14. But I have to take away that whole measurement. So I'm going to subtract with parentheses, and I need to distribute. So I get 22x plus 20 minus 12x minus 14. And I have like terms here and here. So 22x minus 12x is 10x. 20 minus 14 is 6. And this is these two added together. So I need to divide by 2, cut it in half, and I get 5x plus 3, which is an option. And then we're going to check our work. So I know that I have 6x plus 5x plus 6x plus 5x, which gives me 22x, so that's correct. And then I have 7 plus 3 plus 7 plus 3, which gives me 20, which is also correct. So we did it correctly. Okay, if we look at number 15, 15 says simplify the following expression. I have no parentheses, so we're just combining my terms. I have 7x squared, 5x squared, here's an x, here's an x, and then a constant and a constant. So we're going to start with our x squareds. 7 plus 5 is 12x squared. I like to cross them off as I go. Negative 9 plus 1x is negative 8x. And then negative 12 plus 3 is going to be negative 9. So I have 12x squared minus 8x minus 9, which is D. Okay, 16 says a shoe company has 2 stores and calculates the profit made from the stores by the expressions below. So here's profit A, or store B's profit. It says which expression represents the total profit made from the 2 stores. Y'all, anytime I ask you total, it's going to be addition. So I'm going to do this plus this, and we need to identify our like terms. So this has a p squared, this has a p squared, this has a p, this has a p, and then this is just a constant. So this is a calculator problem. We're going to use our calculator to add these things. And so I have 4/5 plus 3, and we're going to turn it into a fraction. That gives me 19 over 5 p squared, because both of those had a p squared. Okay, and then I'm going to combine my p's. So negative 1/6 plus 1/3 gives me this. Again, turn it into a fraction, and that gives me 1/6. So plus 1/6 p. Well, then I just have minus 2/5 because there's no like term with that. So all of them have 19 over 5 p squared. And then I have plus 1/6, so that's minus So we're down to my answer, which is D. Okay, look at number 17. 17, here I do not need a box because I have a monomial times a trinomial. Anytime I'm multiplying a monomial, I can just distribute. So negative 5 times x squared is negative 5x squared. Negative 5 times negative 4, well, 2 negatives makes a positive. 5 times 4 is 20, and then there is an x. And then negative 5 times 8 is negative 40. So I have negative 5x squared, which they all have, plus 20x, which only C has, so C is my answer. Okay, number 18 is a calculator problem. I will tell you, if you remember, this is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. Well, if I look y to the sky, my y-intercept is positive 2. So I should be able to hopefully cross off C and D. But if you can't, it's not a big deal. So our x-intercept is negative 3, and I only identify that because when I type these in, it's easier to know. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to type in y equals 3 over 2 x plus 2. And here's my graph. So I'm going to check. I do have 2 as my y-intercept, but I have negative 1.3 repeating as my x-intercept, which is not what I have here. I have a pretty point at negative 3, so A is not my answer. So B should be our answer. Let's double check. This was 2/3. So here's my graph. I do still have 2 as my y-intercept, but now I have negative 3, so this is my answer of B. Okay, number 19. I have here the graph of a linear function is shown. What value represents the y-intercept? No, your y-intercept is just where it touches the y-axis, and it touches at 5. So D is my answer. Okay, here, find the perimeter of the rectangle below, perimeter and area. So for perimeter, I'm going to label all 4 sides, and I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have 2, 5, 2, and 5 are like terms because they all have an x. Negative 5 plus 3, negative 5 plus 3. So now I'm going to use my calculator. So I have for my x's, I have 2 plus 5 plus 2 plus 5, and that gives me 14x. And then I have negative 5 plus 3 minus 5 plus 3, which gives me negative 4. So there is my perimeter. Now let's find area. Area is multiplying my 2 side lengths, so I'm going to use a box. And I have 5x plus 3 and 2x minus 5. So that gives me 5 times 2 is 10x squared plus 6x minus 25x minus 15. And again, we have to add our like terms. This is my big plus sign. And I get negative 25 plus 6, which is going to give me negative 19x. So my answer is 10x squared minus 19x minus 15. Okay, number 21 says find the expressions equivalent to here. Well, again, we have subtraction, so we have to distribute our minus sign. So I have minus AB minus 6xy plus 8zw minus 2. Bring down my terms that I do know that don't change. And we have to identify our like terms. So here's a 6xy, here's an xy, AB, AB, here's ZW, ZW, and then I have a constant of minus 2. Okay, so I'm going to start with my xy. So 6xy minus 6xy, will those cancel? 2ab minus 1ab would leave me with 1ab. I'm done with those. Negative 4 plus 8 is going to be positive 4zw. And then bring down my minus 2. Here's my answer. Okay. Okay, number 22. So again, these are just like, this is just like one of the problems on the very front, just an extra practice. So again, we have to get rid of our squared first because nothing inside of our parentheses distributes. So, I mean, not distributes, simplifies. So I need to do my x plus 6 times x plus 6 because that's what x plus 6 squared means. So x times x is x squared. X times 6 is 6x. X times 6 is 6x, and 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, so we're going to combine our like terms, and we get plus 12x. Now I'm not done because I still have that negative 1/3 and that minus 2. So this gives me x squared plus 12x plus 36. And I have to distribute. So negative 1/3 times x squared is negative 1/3 x squared. Negative 1/3 times 12. Y'all, if you are not good with fractions, use your calculator. So we have negative 1/3 times 12, which gives me negative 4, so minus 4x. And then negative 1/3 times 36 gives me negative 12. Bring down my minus 2. When I combine those, I'm going to get negative 14. And this is what I have. So again, check our first term, which is right, our last term, which is right. So k is what's in front of x, which is negative 4. Okay, last problem. This one says a rectangular garden has a length of 4x minus 2 and a width of 2x plus 5. The area can be written as this. Well, area is length times width, so we're going to multiply the 2. So we have 4x minus 2 and 2x plus 5. 4x times 2x is 8x squared. 2x times negative 2 is negative 4x. 4x times 5 is positive 20x. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Sorry, I'm going kind of fast. Feel free to pause or slow down if you need to. 20x minus 4 or plus negative 4 is going to give me 16x. So I get 8x squared plus 16x minus 10. 8x squared is right, minus 10 is right, so 16 is my value of k. Good luck on your test tomorrow.